Hi everyone, my name is Sarah. Welcome to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be showing you my TBR pile for the magical readathon that Book Roast has created, inspired by the OWLs from Harry Potter, otherwise known as the Ordinary Wizarding Level Examinations. These are the tests that they take in their 5th year at Hogwarts. And the reason why they take these is to help them determine what their career will be once they leave Hogwarts. In order to pass your OWLs, you do need to reach a certain level of a passing grade. There are 3 fail grades and 3 pass grades. And all of the information for those on how you can determine if you pass or fail your owls that you choose to do is actually all stated in the original video for this by Book Roast that I am definitely going to link down below so you can get all the good details on that. So for this readathon, it is going to start April 2nd and go until April 29th. It is a full 4 weeks. In the original challenge that Book Roast did create, it does go up to a maximum of completing 5 owls or reading 5 books. However, there are 12 different subjects at Hogwarts, so for those of us who aspire to be like Hermione Granger and want to complete everything, our goal will be to read 12 books, which of course is my goal because I wish I was Hermione. And I even have my trusty time turner to help me with all of my classes. So when I was sitting down to choose which books I wanted to read, I was thinking of the different professions in the wizarding world that I would like to be a part of if I were living in the wizarding world, which, let's face it, we all wish we were living there, right? Anyways, there are 3 jobs that really stood out to me. Being a teacher myself, of course, Hogwarts professor was definitely one of the top ones. I also would be more than happy to be the Hogwarts librarian. I do have my degree in literature, so of course, obviously just the fact that I'm on BookTube shows that I have a great love for books, so librarian would be perfect as well. The other thing would be a journalist for the Daily Prophet. Now, with reading into all 3 of those job descriptions, there really is no required OWLs that need to be taken, so I am just gonna go for all 12. Alright, so the first subject that I have is Ancient Runes. And the challenge for this specific subject is to find a book that has a symbol on the cover. So the book that I chose is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. As you can see, there are multiple symbols on here, so I think that is pretty good to cover that requirement. This is the first book of a trilogy called the All Souls Trilogy. And of course, by the title, we know it is about witches. It is about a young girl named, Diana Bishop. She is a scholar and she uncovers a manuscript that has all of this kind of alchemy, sorcery information to it, and not wanting to be a part of her heritage, which is coming from a line of witches, she banishes that book back to the stacks in the library and hopes to never really kind of see it again. But there has been now kind of an awakening of different people wanting this book. In particular, there is a vampire who becomes very interested in the book. So what I believe happens in the story is just kind of the story of Diana and this vampire, their relationship, and what happens with the book. So this was recommended to me by a family friend. They absolutely loved it. I love anything having to do with vampires and witches, so this is right up my alley. I'm super excited to read it. Alright, so the next subject that I have a book chosen for is Arithmancy. Now, this challenge was to find a book with a number in the title or on the cover. So what I chose for this one is the book 1984 by George Orwell. I really feel like this book needs no introduction, no explanation. Pretty much everyone has heard of this book. Shamefully, I have not actually read it yet. So this is something that I've had on my bookshelf for a long time now. I really wanted to read this. everyone, I feel like, references it, talks about it at some point in time. So this is something that, like I said, I've really been wanting to read. Super excited to see what this has in store for me. All right, the third subject is astronomy. The challenge for this one is to read a science fiction book. And for this one, I chose to read the Illumini, first book of this trilogy by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I have seen a ton of people talking about this series on BookTube, on Bookstagram, and honestly, I just really heard of this within the past couple of weeks. I don't know how I missed this before, but because of everyone's rave reviews about this, I decided to give this a try. I just need to mention that the actual cover of this book is amazing. I absolutely love it. I think it's so creative, so different than what we usually see in books. So already I'm loving it just by that. All right, and for care of magical creatures, for this challenge, you needed to find a book that either has a magical creature on the cover or just a magical creature in the story. The book that I chose to do is Before She Ignites by Jody Meadows. I did receive this in an owl crate some few months ago. It has been a little while, I think. I can't remember exactly. But I finally am going to get around to actually reading it. And the magical creature that is featured in this book are dragons. And for some reason, I've always had this attraction to dragons in any setting. So I'm really excited about this to see where this one kind of goes. Our main character's name is Mira, and she is a hope bringer, but she's told that she is, hold on. She's a girl who is very interested in dragons. She's a hope bearer, which means she's supposed to be this kind of perfect being, I believe, and she doesn't feel that way. She struggles with deep anxiety, and very interested in dragons, and somehow all of that leads her to discovering a secret, which gets her thrown into a prison. So very interesting stuff going on here. I'm very curious to see where this brings us. Alright, so for charms, the challenge for this one was pretty easy. It was just pick a fantasy book to read. For this one, I chose The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. This is something I also just recently discovered thanks to fellow booktubers. The story behind this one is that there were 3 sisters who were executed for being witches. They had stones tied to their feet, they were drowned in a lake, and every summer they kind of come back and take over bodies of innocent people to lure people into the lake and kind of get their revenge. Like I mentioned earlier, I love anything to do with witches, so super excited about this as well. It doesn't look to be a super long book, so I will probably devour this one. Alright, so for the next class, it is Defense Against the Dark Arts. The challenge for this one is to read a book that features some type of secret society. And obviously, this being a Harry Potter readathon, the first book that comes to mind is Order of the Phoenix, but I felt, oh my goodness, my cat's tail is in the video. I'm sorry about that, guys. Minerva, can you please get out of the way? Thank you. She likes to be all up in my business. Minerva, go. Thank you. All right. So I didn't want to choose Order of the Phoenix just because I feel like a lot of people will be doing that because it's kind of so obvious. Of course, nothing against rereading Harry Potter because, let's face it, I reread it once a year, the whole series. But I wanted to branch out and find a book that I hadn't read before. So I did some research, just kind of Google searched for books that have secret societies, and one that came up is called The Jefferson Key, and that is by Steve Barry. So basically what this book is about, it talks about the 4 presidents that we have had here in the United States that have been assassinated in the years 1865, 1881, 1901, and 1963. So seemingly all assassinations that kind of stand alone, they are not related at all. However, in this book, it does kind of dive into an idea that there is an article and a clause in the Constitution that actually is a reason why these 4 particular presidents were assassinated. So there is the main character who I can't think of his name off the top of my head, and I don't actually have the copy of the book yet, so I can't look it up. But he goes kind of on a mission to kind of discover what it is exactly about these different assassinations with this part of the Constitution. And on his travels, through his discoveries, he runs into a group called the Commonwealth, which is a pirate society who has been involved with this as well. They first started in the American Revolution, and this book has been described as a cross between National Treasure and Pirates of the Caribbean. Both movies that I absolutely love and adore. What I'm really excited about is this historical aspect of our American presidents also mixed in with pirates, something I would have never imagined on my own. So this just seems so interesting to me, and I've heard both good and bad reviews about it, so hopefully I do enjoy it, but look forward to a review coming on that book later. So the next one is Divination. The challenge for this subject was to find a book that deals with prophecies. Again, Order of the Phoenix automatically jumps to my mind, but for the same reasons as the Defense Against the Dark Arts, I decided not to choose that one. Instead, I chose a book called The Night Goddess by Aria Evermore. And let me tell you, there are not a lot of books out there dealing with prophecies. It was really hard to find one. This was one of the only ones that came up in my search, so I really don't know much about it. And again, this one I unfortunately don't have the copy of yet, so I can't read the little synopsis on the back of it. But it does involve a prophecy and someone trying to stop it. So, I mean, what else really do we see with stories with prophecies? But I am excited about this one. I have not heard of this author, not heard of this book. So one of the things I love about these readathons is discovering these new books and new authors that you may not have discovered on your own. So super excited about that. So for Herbology, the challenge for this subject is to find a book that has something related to nature in the title. What I decided to choose for this one is The Winter Witch by Paula Braxton. I am just now noticing that there seems to be a very witchy vibe to this readathon for me. I have a lot of books about witches, but our main character here is named Morgana. She is Welsh. That takes place in the early 19th century, and she has these powers that she just doesn't really know a lot about. She hasn't spoken since she was a child. She gets married off to a man named Kai. She soon falls in love with the farm that he owns and the nature around her. But there are dark forces at work, and there's someone who's trying to get the town to turn against her because of those powers that she does hold. So I am, of course, just very interested in this just for the fact that it's about witches. I do love stories that take place back in time. I know early 19th century wasn't really too long ago, but it's far enough in the past to be very interesting to me. Alright, so the next one, History of Magic. The challenge for this is to read something that is historical fiction. And for this, I am choosing The Red Queen by Philippa Gregory. This is the third book that I have now, or that I will be reading by Philippa Gregory. I have mentioned this in one of my previous videos. I believe it was a TBR video. So this is about Margaret Beaufort, who was a cousin to the King of England, Henry VI of England. And this is the story of her life and how she led one of the greatest rebellions against King Richard III, who is considered a usurper. The first two books I read by Philippa Gregory, I absolutely loved. So I have no doubts that I will definitely enjoy this one as well. For Muggle Studies, the challenge for this was to read a nonfiction book. And this is actually a book that I have had for, gosh, probably 2 years now, that I just haven't picked up and read. But it is called The Optimist's Handbook, a companion to hope. But it is also The Pessimist's Handbook, a companion to despair. The fact that this has two polar opposite ends to it is super fascinating to me. I'm really excited to see what this has to say. Just by flipping through it, it looks like there are different quotes from varying authors from all different time periods that just kind of help you get through those different emotions, whether you're feeling super optimistic or super pessimistic. Alright, so for the subject potions, the challenge was to find a book that has to do with alchemy in some way. And so what other book would I choose besides The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, I think. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. But this is a very short book about a young boy named Santiago from Spain. He does travel to Egypt in search of treasure that is supposedly buried near the pyramids. He runs into a gypsy woman, someone who proclaims himself king, as well as an alchemist, and they all kind of help him get to that destination of his. And that's pretty much all I know about this. I have seen this on bestseller shelves, so I'm assuming it's going to be pretty good. I haven't really heard anyone else's reviews on it, so we'll see where it goes. Alright, and our very last subject is Transfiguration. The challenge for this was to choose a book that had some type of shape-shifting in it, or a person turning into something that they aren't normally, or there could be a cat on the cover thanks to our lovely Transfiguration professor, Minerva McGonagall, who does transform into a cat herself. The book that I chose to do for this is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Now you're probably thinking, why on earth did she choose this? There is absolutely no shape-shifting in here. But there is a small little character named Beorn near the beginning of the book who is a skin changer, and so he does turn into this great big black bear. So that is definitely a form of transfiguration in my opinion. And as you can see, this book has been read a lot. I have notes in here. I've mentioned in my welcome video, I believe it was, that Tolkien is one of my absolute favorite authors, so this book has received a lot of love, and it will continue to do so. Alright, well those are my books, my TBR books for the Magical Readathon, the OWLs, created by Book Roast. Again, I will link her original video down below so you can get all of the further details about everything in case you didn't quite catch everything in my video here. I feel like this readathon is a must for any Harry Potter fan, because I feel like with us Harry Potter fans, it's either you love it or you've never read it. There is no in between. There's no just like, oh, it was okay, I kind of like it. So for all of you crazy fans out there like me, this just sounds like absolute perfection. It is a great way to branch out, read new books, new authors. Most of these are going to be brand new for me. I think the only one that I am rereading actually is The Hobbit. Everything else is brand new. I have not read it before. So again, I am so excited for this. Thank you so much to Book Roast for creating this challenge, or this readathon. I am so thankful for your creative mind in this. This is going to be so much fun. I'm so excited to see what type of books that you choose for this readathon if you decide to do it. If you do, please comment below with your book choices for each subject. And of course, you do not need to try to go for all 12. That is a crazy goal, but I'm a crazy person, so I'm gonna try it. If you decide to make a video like this, explaining your TBRs as well for this readathon, please link your video below. I would love to check it out. That is it for this video. I hope that you have enjoyed it. I hope that it has inspired you to join along with this readathon. Like I said, it's a must for any Harry Potter fan. And if you do like my videos, I would love it for you to please subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so excited about this. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!